The sentence is, I don't think I ever felt what you felt. It's been 4 months and I have never gotten to the end of that sentence without stopping. I've turned it over so many times that the edges have gone smooth like sea glass. I hold it up to the light and try to see something different in it. I never do. Julian said it standing in my kitchen with his jacket already on, with the particular quality of stillness he has when he's decided something and is just waiting for the world to catch up. I was standing by the sink. I remember I was still holding a dish towel. Isn't that something? The most devastated I have ever felt in my adult life. And I was holding a dish towel like I might need it. He said it, and then he waited. The way Julian always waits, like he is giving you the opportunity to disagree before he closes the matter. And I stood there and I held the dish towel and I thought, say something. And I didn't, because what do you say to that? What is the rebuttal? You prove love to someone who doesn't believe it the way you prove a mathematical theorem? You can't. You either felt it together or one of you was alone in the room the whole time. He left. The kitchen went quiet. I put the dish towel down very carefully, like it might break. That was 4 months ago. I have not seen him since. I have not wanted to. I have been doing what I always do when something becomes unbearable, which is to organize around it, schedule tighter, work harder, make the life around the wound so loud that the wound itself can't get a word in. It mostly works. Sasha would say it mostly doesn't, but Sasha is wrong about this, and I tell her so regularly. The problem is that the firm has a partnership review in 3 weeks. The problem is that I want it badly, have been building toward it for 2 years, and the problem inside that problem is that I just got an email yesterday saying that the new senior project lead has been transferred to our office. The problem inside that problem is a name, Julian Mercer, effective Monday. I sit at my desk on Friday afternoon with the email still open on my screen, and I hold myself very still, and I think, this is fine, 3 weeks, the review comes first, nothing else matters. I believe this mostly. I close the email. I do not close it for another hour. Julian walks in at 8:47 on a Monday morning wearing the gray coat I used to move out of the way so I could reach the coffee cups. He looks exactly the same. This is somehow offensive. He sees me. There is a moment I clock it, the way you clock things you've trained yourself to clock me, where his expression does something, not much. Something. Then it settles, and he nods. The way you nod at a colleague you know professionally, and he walks to the project director's office to check in, and that is that. Sasha appears at my elbow 17 seconds later. She's been clocked in for maybe 5 minutes, and she already has a coffee and a look. Say nothing, I tell her. I wasn't going to say anything. You were going to say something. She takes a long sip of her coffee. I was going to ask if you wanted a coffee. I have a coffee. She looks at my desk. That's a pen, Eli. I look down. I am holding a pen. There is no coffee. I'll get you a coffee, Sasha says. And she goes, and I put the pen down, and I breathe, and I look at my screen, and I do not look at the project director's office. The review is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks is 21 days. 21 days is entirely manageable. Julian Mercer is a professional, and so am I, and we are adults who are capable of sharing an office environment without incident, and all I have to do is be excellent for 21 days and not think about the dish towel. Simple. Then at 9:15, he is assigned to the Callaway project, which is my project. I find this out when the project director, Marcus, calls us both in and says it very pleasantly, and Julian says, good. I've reviewed the preliminary files, which means he was aware of this before I was, and I say, of course, in the voice I use when I need to perform total equanimity. And Marcus says, great, first team meeting Thursday, and we both leave the office. And Julian walks left toward his new desk, and I walk right toward the bathroom, and I stand there very quietly for 90 seconds. 21 days, I think. I have done harder things than this. I walk back to my desk. Sasha slides a coffee onto it without a word. I pick it up. We don't discuss it. The storage room on the 3rd floor is a disaster. This has always been true, and everyone knows it, and no one does anything about it because it's one of those organizational problems that requires a significant investment of time from someone, and no one is ever the someone. It holds old project files, surplus equipment, a broken ergonomic chair that 3 separate people have meant to request a replacement for, and as of Thursday afternoon when I'm looking for the 2019 Callaway site survey, apparently also a small brown notebook tucked behind a stack of landscape architecture binders. I pull the binders out and the notebook slides forward and hits my hand, and I pick it up automatically before I even see what it is. The cover is plain. No label. But the initials on the inside of the front cover are unmistakable, because Julian writes the way he does everything. Neat, exact, slightly too deliberate. JMI stand there for a long time. The 2019 Callaway survey is in my hand. The notebook is in my other hand. The correct thing to do is to put the notebook back and tell Julian I found it. This is clear. This is obvious. I put the survey under my arm and I start to put the notebook back on the shelf. Then I open it. I don't decide to. It happens the way some things happen, one motion following another before the judgment catches up. And then I'm reading, and I'm standing in the storage room on the 3rd floor surrounded by old binders and a broken chair. And I'm reading Julian Mercer's handwriting, and the room around me does not exist anymore. The first entry is dated 2 years ago. He reorganized the Albright file system today without being asked. I've been meaning to do it for 6 months. I don't know how he knew. I don't know how he always knows. I read the next entry. He laughed at something Sasha said, and I had to look away. And the one after that? I don't know what to do with this. I am not someone who doesn't know what to do. I sit down on the floor. The broken chair watches me from the corner. I sit on the floor of the storage room and I read. And the light from the single overhead bulb is yellow and unflattering. And outside I can hear the office going about its Thursday. And I'm reading the precise, meticulous handwriting of the man who told me he never felt what I felt. And every page is evidence that he is a liar. Not a cruel liar, the worst kind, the kind that lies to themselves first. I read until I find the entry from the night of the kitchen. Told him I never felt what he felt. I couldn't do it. I can explain this to myself very clearly. He deserves more than I know how to give. This is the correct decision. I will stop thinking about the dish towel by next week. My chest does something complicated. I close the notebook. I sit on the floor. And then slowly I get up and I take the Callaway survey and I take the notebook and I put the survey under my arm and I walk back to my desk. I don't know yet what I'm going to do with it, but I know I'm not going to pretend I didn't read it. Here are the things I do not do. I do not go directly to Julian's desk. I do not walk up to him in the open office and say, I found your diary and I read it and I know you lied to me. I do not cry. I am not someone who cries publicly. And more importantly, I am not someone who makes a scene at work. And even more importantly than that is I need to think. What I do is go home and put the notebook on my kitchen table beside the plant I've been neglecting since October, and I make tea, and I sit with it. The notebook is small. The handwriting is Julian's. I know it the way I know the particular pace of his walk, which is information I wish I could return. The entries don't span the full 2 years we work together. They start sparse every few weeks and then grow denser. The months before the kitchen appear nearly every day. I've memorized 3 of them without intending to. There is a difference between what I'm capable of and what I want. I am aware that these are not the same thing. I don't know how to close the gap. That one I sat with for a long time. The thing is, and I've been turning this over since the storage room, the thing is that being right doesn't fix anything by itself. He still said it. He looked me in the eye in my kitchen and he said he didn't feel it. And maybe his diary says otherwise. But he chose that sentence, and he delivered it cleanly, and he walked out. And a person who does that is not a person who was overcome with love that he tragically couldn't express. A person who does that is a person who made a decision. I don't know how to hold both of those things yet. The diary and the kitchen, the handwriting and the sentence. What I do know is that the partnership review is in 3 weeks, and I need to be excellent and clear-headed, and I cannot do this right now. I close the notebook. I put it on my bookshelf between 2 novels, where it looks like it belongs there. I go to bed. I sleep badly. In the morning I get up and I go to work, and Julian Mercer is standing at the coffee machine and he says, "Morning." And I say, "Morning." And we are both so terribly, absolutely fine about it. Sasha watches this exchange from her desk with the expression of a person observing a natural disaster in slow motion. Julian has a best friend named Owen Hartley who works in the building 2 doors down, in the commercial architecture consultancy on the 4th floor. And I know this because Owen has the habit of appearing in our lobby to meet Julian for lunch. And I know Owen knows who I am because of the way he looks at me. Politely, carefully, with the studied neutrality of someone who has received a very specific briefing. This is a problem I had not anticipated. On Wednesday, I'm eating lunch alone at the small courtyard table because Sasha has a call, and Owen Hartley sits down across from me. He's carrying a sandwich. He sets it down with the ease of someone who has made this decision in advance and isn't going to be awkward about it. "Hi," he says. "Hi," I say. "I'm Owen." "I know who you are." He nods, like this is exactly what he expected. He unwraps his sandwich. I wait. He takes a bite, looks at the courtyard, and then says, "He didn't tell me he was being transferred here. I found out when he was already on the way." I consider this. "Why are you telling me that?" "Because I want you to know that I'm not—" He pauses, searching for the word. "I'm not an extension of him. I have my own opinions." "What are your opinion?" He looks at me. He has an open face, Owen. The kind of face that makes people confide in him, which I can imagine is both a gift and a burden. He says, "My opinion is that Julian is one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, and one of the most comprehensively idiotic. And those 2 things live in him in a way that I have never fully reconciled." I look at my lunch. That's a generous framing. I'm not trying to be generous, I'm trying to be accurate. He takes another bite. He didn't sleep for 3 days after. After. The courtyard is quiet. There's a pigeon doing something earnest and fruitless near the bins. I watch it. "Owen," I say carefully, "why are you here?" He's quiet for a moment. Then, "Because he won't tell you anything and someone should tell you something, and I've decided the someone is me." He stands, picks up his sandwich. "I don't know what you're going to do with that. That's yours." He nods at me, not unkindly. "Enjoy your lunch." He walks away. I sit there for a long time after he's gone, watching the pigeon, thinking about 3 days. The Callaway project is a mid-scale commercial renovation in the East Side, adaptive reuse of a 1960s warehouse into mixed-use office space. It's the kind of project I'm good at. The structural constraints are clear. The client has taste, and the problem is interesting enough that I can lose myself in it, which is what I need. The first joint working session with Julian is on Thursday morning. I've prepared, I've looked at every file, I know the project so completely that I could deliver the Thursday presentation alone, blindfolded, speaking in monotone. I am ready. Julian arrives 2 minutes early and sets up at the other end of the table and opens his laptop, and we begin. Here's the thing about working with Julian. He is genuinely excellent at this. He sees structural problems from 3 angles at once. He asks the questions no one else thought to ask. He caught in 20 minutes a load-bearing issue in the eastern elevation that would have surfaced at Phase 3 and cost the client 2 weeks in real money. I hate that he's excellent. It would be tidier if he weren't. We work for 4 hours. He says good point once when I propose the interior circulation solution, and something in my chest does an embarrassing thing that I choose not to examine. I say that works when he resolves the mezzanine. We pass files back and forth. We don't talk about anything except the project. At the end of 4 hours, we have a first draft of the concept brief that is genuinely strong. "Thursday works," he says, meaning the client meeting. "Thursday works," I say. He gathers his things. He pauses before he goes, and I feel it. The pause. The way Julian pauses when he is considering whether to say something. The weight of the room shifts, and then he says, The storage room on 3 is usually where they put the overflow Callaway files. Did you find what you were looking for? He's looking at his laptop screen when he says it. Not at me. I found the 2019 survey, I say. Good. He picks up his laptop. Let me know if anything else is missing from the archive. He walks out. I sit at the table for a moment. He knows it's gone, I think. He knows. 3 weeks has become 2 weeks, has become somehow 12 days, and the partnership review is now measurably close enough that Marcus mentions it in passing during the Monday all hands, and I feel the clock in my chest kick over. Sasha pulls me into the stairwell at 11. I need you to talk to me, she says. About the review? About why you look like a person who has been visited by a ghost for the last 10 days. I look at the stairwell wall. It's a very ordinary wall. I found something in the storage room, I say, that I wasn't supposed to find. She waits. Julian's notebook? A diary? I stop. I read it. Sasha is quiet for a long moment. This is how I know it's serious. Sasha is never quiet. And, she says finally, and he... I find I can't quite say it flatly the way I want to. He didn't mean what he said. In my kitchen. Or he meant it, and also the opposite of it, which is, I'm still working out what that means. She leans against the wall. She has the look she gets when she's seeing something I can't see yet. Eli, what are you going to do with it? I'm going to leave it on his desk. She stares at me. Just leave it. Without anything. Without anything. And then what? Then he knows I read it, and I know he knows I know, and we've established something true between us without either of us having to perform a single thing. I pause. Or he says nothing, in which case I have my answer. And if he says something, I look at the wall again. Then I'll have a different answer, I say. Sasha doesn't say anything for a moment. Then she says quietly, he's been watching you, you know, not obviously, but I see it. When you're across the room, when you're talking to Marcus, when you're working, he looks at you the way someone looks at something they left somewhere and keep checking to see if it's still there. This lands somewhere specific. I let it. The review is in 12 days, I say. I know. After the review, she sighs. Eli? I can't be distracted right now. You are already distracted. You're just managing it very tidily. She pushes off the wall. For what it's worth, the leaving it on the desk thing is either very brave or completely insane, and I can't decide which, but I'm proud of you either way. She goes back up the stairs. I stand in the stairwell for another minute. 12 days. I break my own rule on a Sunday. I tell myself I'm going to have a normal Sunday. Coffee, the plans for a residential project I've been developing on my own, a run if the weather holds. And I have the coffee and I look at the plans, and then at 10 a.m., I take the notebook off the shelf. There's an entry from the morning after the kitchen. It's done. It was the correct decision. I want to be clear about that. He will be fine. He is one of those people who is constitutionally capable of being fine. I almost laugh, reading that. Almost. What I didn't account for, and I should have, I'm usually more thorough, is what it would feel like to walk out of his apartment and have that be the last thing. The dish towel. That was careless of me. I should have had a better last image. I've been constructing a different one, but it won't stay. I read it 3 times. Then there's a gap of 2 weeks where he didn't write anything. Then, briefly, called Owen. He said, "What did you expect?" I don't have an answer to that. Then another entry, a month after. The transfer came through today. I didn't ask for it. I want to be honest with myself about that. I didn't ask for it, but I also didn't decline it. I close the notebook. I sit with that for a long time. He didn't ask for the transfer. He also didn't decline it. The precision of that is see the very Julianness of it, of holding both and naming both and sitting inside the contradiction, does something to me that I wasn't prepared for. I put the notebook back on the shelf. I go for the run. The weather holds barely. Gray sky, the particular wet cold of a November morning. I run for 40 minutes and I come back and I stand in the kitchen breathing. The dish towel is there. Same hook. I've done laundry several times since October. It's been through the wash. It's just a dish towel. It doesn't mean anything. But I think he still has the image. He wrote that he couldn't make it stay, but he wrote it. And that means it's still there, in his handwriting, in the notebook, which is currently on my bookshelf between two novels. I dry my hands. I think about 12 days becoming 11. The interference comes on a Tuesday, 8 days before the review. I don't see it coming. I should have. I know Owen has his own agenda, have known it since the courtyard, but I underestimate the speed of it. What happens is this. Owen apparently goes to Julian. I don't know what he says. What I see is the aftermath. Julian, who has been professionally polite and compositely sealed for 2 weeks, who has said nothing about the notebook, nothing about the storage room, nothing about anything except the Callaway project. Julian leaves early on Tuesday afternoon and doesn't return on Wednesday morning. Sasha watches me. I don't know what Owen did, I say before she can ask. Neither do I. But Julian looks like he's been told something he didn't expect. Good. Eli. I recalibrate. I mean that I don't know what that means yet. But I do feel something loosen slightly, like a knot that's been pulled tight, shifting under pressure. And then, Wednesday afternoon, an email from Julian. Can we talk? Not about Callaway. Jay, I read it 6 times. I read it the way you read something when you're trying to make sure it means what you think it means, when you've had so many months of being wrong about what things mean that you've stopped trusting your own reading. It says, can we talk? It says, not about Callaway. It says, Jay. Like I know him well enough to know who Jay is, which I do, which we both know I do. I write back, Thursday coffee, 8:30, not the office one. He responds in 4 minutes, yes. The coffee shop is small and yellow lit, the kind of place that's been there for 20 years and has no intention of changing. Julian is there when I arrive. He's already ordered. He's sitting with his hands around a coffee cup the way he sits with things that make him uncertain, not fidgeting, just holding on. I sit down. We look at each other. You read it, he says. I read it. He nods. He already knew. He's been knowing for 10 days. All of it? Most of it. I pause. Enough. The coffee shop makes its ordinary sounds around us. Just the machine, someone's low conversation, a chair scraping. Julian looks at his cup, then up at me. I don't know how to explain the kitchen, he says. I'm not asking you to. I'm telling you anyway. He says it quietly, but there's something firm underneath it. Not the Julian firmness I know from work, the we are closing this matter firmness, but something else, something that sounds like it costs him. I convinced myself it was the right thing, that I'd cause less damage by withdrawing cleanly. And I've been thinking about it since, and I think I was wrong. I think I took a decision that was about me, and I delivered it as if it was about you. I look at him. That's an accurate description, I say, or yes. It doesn't undo it. I know. The silence between us has weight, but not the terrible, suffocating weight of the kitchen. More like possibility, like something that hasn't been determined yet. I think about what I said to Sasha. Either I get an answer or I get a different answer. I'm sitting in the middle of the different answer, and it's more complicated than I planned for. What do you want from Thursday, I ask. From this conversation. He's quiet for a moment. I want you to know the truth of it, and I want... He stops. He looks at the table. I want to know if there's anything to salvage. And there it is. I feel it. The pull of it. The sheer relief of someone finally saying the exact true thing. We are 40 minutes from the office, 8 days from the review, and Julian Mercer is sitting across from me with his hands around a coffee cup asking if there's anything to salvage. Not right now, I say. He looks up. I have 8 days until the review, I say, and I need to think about all of it, not in a coffee shop at 8:30 in the morning. I pause. But I heard you. I want you to know that. He nods, very slowly, like he is adjusting to something new. We finish our coffees, we walk back toward the office in the gray November morning, and it is not resolved, not even close. But it is not the kitchen, and I think that might be enough for now. 8 days. Then, 3 hours later, Marcus calls me in. He's adding Julian to the partnership review panel. I find out about the panel change on Thursday afternoon, and I have 6 hours of work remaining before I can go home and sit with it. And I use all 6 of them to be so preoccupied with the Callaway client presentation that there is simply no room for anything else. This is, professionally speaking, an efficient use of a crisis. Sasha is waiting outside Marcus's office when I come out. I just heard, she says, it's fine. Eli? It's fine in the sense that I'm not going to let it be not fine. I walk back to my desk. Julian is one panel member of 4. I'm not going to perform for him, and I'm not going to avoid him. I'm going to present the work. She looks at me for a long moment. Then, okay, that's actually healthy. I know. Are you sure it's healthy and not just very well-organized avoidance? Can it be both? She considers this. Probably, yes. The review is on a Thursday. It lasts 3 hours. I present the Callaway concept brief, the 2-year body of work that I've compiled, the residential project I've been developing independently. And when Marcus asks why I want the partnership, I say, because I've been building things in this office for 2 years that will outlast my tenure here, and I want the responsibility to match the investment. Julian is in the room. He's one of 4 reviewers. He asked me 2 questions, both of them technical and fair. I answer them. He writes something down. At the end of 3 hours, Marcus says they'll convene and communicate by end of week. I walk out. Owen is in the lobby, which is unexpected. What are you doing here? I say. He shrugs. Wanted to see how you were. It went well, I think. Good. He looks at me. And the other thing? I think about Thursday morning. Julian's hands around his coffee cup. Is there anything to salvage? I'm working on it, I say. He nods. For what it's worth, he says, I've known him for 11 years, and I've never seen him keep a diary before. He's not someone who writes things down. He has about 100 ways to not say the thing. He pauses, but he wrote it down, all of it. He says it plainly, like it's just information. And then he goes, because that's Owen. He delivers the thing, and then he gets out of the way of it. I stand in the lobby. The November afternoon is coming in through the glass front, gray, clean, specific, 100 ways to not say the thing, but he wrote it down. I go home. I take the notebook off the shelf. That Friday night, I'm in my apartment, just me, the notebook on the kitchen table, and the plant that I've been neglecting since October, which has, despite all evidence, survived. I water it. This is the first time in 6 weeks. I find the watering can in the back of the cabinet where I put it during the period when I was organizing around the wound. And I fill it and I water the plant and I watch the water go into the soil, and the plant looks honestly exactly the same as before, but I feel better about it. Then I sit at the kitchen table. I open the notebook to the last entry. It's dated 4 days ago, Tuesday, the day after our coffee. Julian doesn't write often, but he wrote this. Had coffee with E this morning. He said, I heard you. I didn't expect that. I didn't expect to be heard. And then, below it, I've been trying to construct a version of this that ends well, and I can't quite get there. But I think that might be because I've been trying to plan it, which is the wrong approach. The things that have gone badly for me are the ones I planned past their tolerance. I read that twice. Then I close the notebook. I look at the plant. The plant doesn't have an opinion. The plant is just alive, barely, and that's enough for it. I get up and I find a piece of paper, an actual piece of paper from the printer tray, because who has notepaper anymore? And I write 1 sentence on it. I fold it in half. I clip it to the notebook cover. Tomorrow I'm going to put the notebook on Julian's desk. Not because I have a plan, because he wrote the things that have gone badly for me are the ones I planned past their tolerance, and I think I've been doing the same thing. I've been waiting until I had an answer, until I knew how it would land, until the conditions were correct. The kitchen was the result of one person planning past his tolerance, and the outcome of that has been living in my chest like sea glass for 4 months. I'm done planning. I go to bed. For the first time since October, I sleep through the night. Saturday morning, just before 9. The office is empty on Saturdays except for the people who come in to use the quiet. A few of us scattered, headphones in, no meetings. I come in early. Julian is already there. Of course he is. He's at his desk with his laptop open and a coffee from the Not the Office One place, which I notice, which I let myself notice. He looks up when he hears me come in. I walk to his desk. I put the notebook down in front of him with the folded piece of paper clipped to it. I don't say anything. He looks at the notebook. He looks at the note. He looks at me. "What does it say?" he says quietly. "Read it." He unclips the note. He opens it. On it I've written, "I know what it costs you to write things down. I also know what it costs to leave them where someone can find them." He looks at it for a long time. The office is quiet. Someone in the far corner has headphones in. The coffee machine does something in the kitchen. Outside, the November morning is doing what November mornings do. "I didn't leave it there on purpose, he says. He looks up at me. "The notebook. I genuinely forgot it was there. When I came back, He stops. "I thought about retrieving it before you found it. Then I thought about it more and I left it." "I know," I say. "You wrote about it." Something in his face moves. "All right," he says. "Fair enough." He looks at the note again. Then he looks at me, and it's the look from the kitchen, but reversed. Not the one that delivered a sentence and walked out, but the one that might be about to say the true thing and not have an exit planned. "I kept thinking about the dish towel," he says. "That was my last image and it was wrong. It should have been..." He stops. He tries again. "It should have been you. That's a stupid thing to say, but it should have been." It's quiet. "It was me anyway," I say. "You can't curate what you take with you." He looks at that for a moment. "No," he says. "I suppose not." I pull the chair from the adjacent empty desk and I sit down, not at my desk, at his. "Here's what I know," I say. "I know the kitchen happened. I know what you said. I'm not going to pretend it didn't happen because your diary says something different. A person who says one thing and does another is not someone I should be uncomplicated about." I pause. "But I'm not uncomplicated about you, and I'd rather be honest about that than organized around it." He listens. He's good at listening. I've always known this about him. "I don't want to plan past the tolerance," I say. He looks at me. "I wrote that." "I know. I read your diary." I pause. All of it. Something shifts in him. Not dramatically, quietly, like a door that has been braced against pressure finally being allowed to close properly. "I'm sorry," he says. "For the kitchen, for the sentence. I knew it wasn't true when I said it, and I said it anyway because I thought..." He stops. "I thought I was doing you a service. I was wrong about that." "You were," I say. "Yes?" "Don't do that again." He looks at me with something I recognize now from his handwriting, not from his face, which is usually very settled, but from the pages, where he was more himself than he meant to be. "I won't," he says, and I believe it. The morning light comes in at the angle it does in November, gray and specific, through the long office windows. "Okay," I say. "Okay," he says. The partnership review result comes in by email at 4 p.m. on Friday. I'm at my desk. I have the email open. Sasha is watching me from across the room with the expression of a person at a nail-biting finale. I read it once. I read it again. Then I look up at Sasha and I give her a nod, and she makes a face that is mostly joy and partly the relief of someone who has been very anxious on a friend's behalf for 3 weeks. I look across the office where Julian is at his desk with his laptop. He looks up at the same time. He must see something in my face because he raises his eyebrows. A question. I hold up one finger, meaning give me a minute, and I type a response to Marcus's email, and then I gather my coat, and I go. My brother Dennis is in town for the weekend, staying in my spare room, which means that when I arrive home, there is a person who grew up with me sitting at my kitchen table eating cereal at 4:15 in the afternoon and reading something on his phone. "You look different, he says without looking up. Good different or bad different? He looks up then. Studies me. "Good different," he says, in the tone he uses when he means it. I tell him about the review. He makes the appropriate sounds of fraternal congratulation. Then he says, with the bluntness of someone who has known you your whole life, "And the other thing, the one you haven't mentioned." I sit down. I look at my kitchen table, which is clean now, notebook gone, plant watered, dish towel on its hook. "I think it's going to be okay," I say. He looks at me for a long moment. "Yeah," he says, "you look like someone who thinks it's going to be okay." I make tea. Dennis finishes his cereal. We sit together in my kitchen in the gray Friday afternoon, and I feel for the first time since October like the room is the right size. We are outside the building, Julian and I, on an early December Saturday tour, 3 weeks after the storage room, 2 weeks after the coffee shop, 1 week after his desk. It's cold in the way December is cold in the city, which is a specific cold, the kind that comes up from the pavement. He says, "Where do you want to go?" The question is simple. It's also not. I think about what I could say. I think about the 4 months and the notebook and the sentence in the kitchen and the dish towel and Owen in the courtyard and Sasha in the stairwell and the plant that is, against all odds, still alive. I think about, I don't know what to do with this. I am not someone who doesn't know what to do. His handwriting on a page I was never supposed to read. "I know a place," I say. "It's the coffee shop from Thursday morning, the small one, yellow light, 20 years of the same menu." He looks at it when we arrive, and I see him recognize it, and something in his face does the thing I've been learning to read. Not the settled, composed, professional surface, but the layer beneath it, the one that writes things down when no one is watching. He holds the door open. Inside it's warm and it smells like old wood and coffee and something baking, and we find the same corner table where we sat before, and I take my coat off, and he hangs his on the back of the chair the way he does. The server comes. We order. And then Julian reaches across the table just slightly and straightens my scarf. It's come slightly askew, with the same deliberate care he gives to everything. It's nothing. It's also the first time he's touched me since the kitchen. He doesn't make a thing of it, he just does it, and then he takes his hand back and looks at the menu. I look at the menu too. We sit there in the yellow light of the small coffee shop that smells like old wood and something baking. And outside it's December and cold, and I think, yes, that is exactly right. "You keep the notebook," I say. He looks up. "I don't need it anymore," I say. "I read it. I know what it says. What it says belongs to you." He's quiet for a moment. "What I want," he says slowly, like he's testing each word before he places it down, "is to say things to you directly, going forward, not in a notebook in a storage room, not at you and then through a door." "That's what I want too," I say. "Good. It's non-negotiable. I know." And then quietly, with the cadence of someone who has been keeping an account, "I've been thinking about how to say something for 4 months, and I think the version that is truest is just, I've missed you. Every day since October, the dish towel and everything after." I look at him across the small coffee shop table. "That's very specific," I say. "I'm a specific person." "I know you are," I say. "I read your diary." He makes a sound. Not quite a laugh, but something in the direction of a laugh. And I think I haven't heard that sound from him in 4 months, and it does something uncomplicated and exact to the part of me that has been organized around the wound. "I missed you too," I say. "The whole time." The coffee arrives. The December morning does its thing outside the window. We're here, in the yellow light, at the same table we sat at before, and but this time there's no review in 8 days, no exit planned, no sentence being delivered. Just 2 cups of coffee and the real thing finally, said out loud. He puts his hand on the table. I put mine over it. The door to the coffee shop opens, and a cold gust comes in from outside and is immediately shut out again. And the warmth of the room closes back over us, and I think, this is what was on the other side of the kitchen. Not clean and simple, not uncomplicated, but real, and said, and named. The coffee cools a little as we talk. We stay until it's late enough that we're obviously the last table, and even then we're not in a hurry to be anywhere else. The plant is alive. I don't know how. I forget about it regularly and then remember and water it too much and then forget again, and yet every morning it is exactly where I left it. Still doing the thing plants do when they've decided to persist against the available evidence. Sasha came over last Sunday and looked at it for a long time. "What kind of plant is that?" she said. "I don't know. I've had it since August." "It looks like it's had a difficult year." "It has," I said, "but it's fine." She looked at me. I looked at the plant. "Yeah," she said, "you both are." Julian comes over on Thursday evenings now, or I go to his. This has been the case for about 3 weeks and has the quality of something that has become ordinary very quickly, which is not a bad thing. He reorganizes whatever he happens to encounter. Twice it's been my bookshelf, once it was my spice rack, and I let him because watching Julian be at home in a space is something I think I was missing without knowing I was missing it. The first Thursday he came over, he noticed the space on my bookshelf, between the 2 novels, where the notebook used to live. He stood there for a moment looking at the gap. "I put it somewhere specific," he said. "Good. You should know that I added to it. After. There are things in there from the last month that are—" He stopped. "You can read them if you want." "Not yet," I said. He nodded, then, "Whenever." Whenever. That was new. That was the thing that the kitchen didn't have. That I didn't know until I had it was the thing I needed most. The absence of an exit. A sentence that doesn't have a door built into it. There's a particular quality of evening light in my apartment in December. The way it comes in at the angle when the city's putting its lights on and the sky is that specific dark blue. Not black yet. The last blue before it goes. Julian was standing in it on Thursday and he said something about the Callaway East elevation that made me laugh. Genuinely. And he smiled at that the way I've been learning his smile. Not the professional one, not the composed one, but the one that's just for rooms that don't have exits. I think about the storage room sometimes. The single overhead bulb, yellow and unflattering, the broken chair, the way I sat down on the floor because there was nowhere else to go with what I'd just read. I found a thing I wasn't supposed to find. I read every page. I left it on his desk without a plan, on a Saturday morning in a quiet office, and he looked at it and then at me, and then the door was open and we went through it. Not clean, not simple, but ours. The plant persists. So do we.